Constipation is something that many people feel like if they have it, they know it. But the statistics are that 20%, up to 20% of the population reports constipation, yet it's highly underreported, and I can definitely corroborate that. In my many decades of working with patients, I frequently work with patients who thought it was completely normal to move their bowels 3 times a week or even 2 times a week because they not only just were used to that frequency, but when they spoke to their primary care physician, they were told it's normal for you. So this is the way you've always been, that's normal for you. And that's just not true. So ideally it's 1 to 3 times per day that you're moving your bowels. And this is a formed bowel movement. It's soft from the viewpoint, it's easy to pass. Also, complete evacuation is another key point. So you feel like everything that needed to be evacuated was. So that is the definition of a normal bowel movement. And there are many, many people who don't report constipation to their doctors who still yet have it. And the link between constipation and a whole host of problems, but our focus today and the major focus for my channel is gut health, hiatal hernia, acid reflux. They're very tied in with one another, and that's what we're going to discuss. A little bit more on the statistics. Women are at twice the risk of men. That 20% frequency goes up to 33% in the older population. A lot of that is attributed to medications, less fiber in the diet, less movement of the body. But the definition, the definition of constipation is that you're moving your bowels less than 3 times a week. But as I said, ideally we're talking 1 to 3 times per day is what's ideal. Okay, so with constipation, one tends to strain, and that is increasing pressure in your abdomen. When you increase pressure in the abdominal area, called increased intra-abdominal pressure, what you're doing is that pressure is forcing your stomach to contract and push up, your diaphragm to push up, and that is the beginning of acid reflux and hiatal hernia, because the stomach should be lying, it's on the left side, comfortably below the diaphragm, but with that increased pressure and straining, you're pushing it up, and so that opening that where your esophagus should pass through, the tube connecting your mouth to your stomach, it's supposed to pass through the diaphragm opening. But with that pressure, you're forcing the stomach up, 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 and now that opening is widening, and that's the definition of hiatal hernia. In addition to that pressure on the stomach, the contents of what's in your stomach, which is acid, that's going to get forced up, and that's the definition of acid reflux. And hiatal hernia and acid reflux are completely tied together. We understand that now. If you have acid reflux, the frequency that you would have hiatal hernia, or the estimate, is anywhere from 70 to 100%. So they're absolutely correlated. Also associated with constipation is delayed gastric emptying. So all of this backup is sort of backing up the digestive tract all the way up the line. And so, of course, the pressures should be top down. You swallow and there's the pressure to push everything down your esophagus into your stomach. Your stomach churns food around a bit, and then the pressure is to push it out into the small intestine. It's all top-down pressure. But with this increased intra-abdominal pressure from constipation, everything's going the wrong way. So now the stomach's trying to empty, but there's the force against it. So you get what's called delayed gastric emptying. Gastric is the stomach, or it's called gastroparesis, sort of like a paralysis. And food stays in the stomach longer. Now you're increasing the pressure within the stomach, and the same kind of cascade happens that I just described. The other thing that happens is that food staying in your intestines too long because of this slow movement you get gas and bloating as a result of just sheer fermentation. So food is just sitting in your gut for too long. It's fermenting, it's creating gas, it's creating very uncomfortable bloat. Definitely, I've had patients over the years say, I feel like I'm full up to here. I don't even want to eat. I know I should, but I'm just stuffed. Everything's, pushed up. And so it's a miserable feeling being constipated in addition to creating a lot of health issues. But you get that bloat and this fermentation issue, which also leads to what's called dysbiosis, because the food just sitting there and fermenting, unfortunately, we're feeding the bad bacteria in the colon versus the good bacteria. That creates more gas and bloating. So it's really a quite a catch-22 that happens when you have constipation. Last point, and then we're going to go into solutions, has to do with your nervous system. So when you're constipated, your autonomic nervous system, so you have fight or flight, and then you have the parasympathetic nervous system. Those are both part of the autonomic nervous system. But with constipation, there's an imbalance and the vagus nerve gets affected. And your vagus nerve is your longest cranial nerve, and it's very focused on keeping the tone and momentum going in the GI tract. So just having constipation alone offsets your nervous system. It's very interesting. It has to do with this gut brain axis, it's called, how the gut and brain interact, and the vagus nerve is a cranial nerve, so it is coming out of your brain. So the vagus nerve controls motility, as I mentioned, how things are moving through your gut, and it also controls the tone of these various sphincters that help things move top down and stay top down, like your lower esophageal sphincter, which gets very compromised with acid reflux due to that pressure, and the lower esophageal sphincter gets compromised, leading to hiatal hernia. So again, we come full circle with that association. So let's jump into solutions. This is where it gets a little tricky, because I know as a listener, you want a single answer, do this. And here's why I can't do that, is because I can tell you, after 40 plus years of experience, my team and I together, which makes a lot longer decades of experience, is that different people are constipated for different reasons. There's not a sole reason that's true for everyone. And I think that makes sense to you. As much as you would like wow, I am really constipated, it's miserable, tell me what to do. As much as you want that answer, I think it makes sense that not everybody is the same, and the reason they're experiencing this is the same. But I will give you some core foundational issues that we look toward and are frequently present. So that's the best I can do. I hope you understand why that is just the truth, and that's always what I'll give you, is the truth. Whether it's simple or not, it's real and it's true, and that's something that's very important to us here. So food sensitivities are very common. Gluten sensitivities can certainly cause constipation. Dairy is really known to create constipation, so that's one you want to look at. And so we address that with our own root cause elimination diet, but there are many elimination diets out there. It does take discipline. It takes some hand holding, which is why I think it's best when you do it with a team. But there's your answer for that. Now, you've probably heard of magnesium, and magnesium citrate is the type of magnesium that goes to the bowel and tends to, keep things moving. I've definitely had patients who said, I got on the magnesium and it helped for a while and then it stopped. Okay, so why did it stop? Because there were more factors that weren't being addressed, and those are the factors. That's the list I'm going to go over right now. Another one is insufficient fiber in the diet. We need that fiber to kind of keep things moving. Now, the safest way to start if you're constipated is with soluble fiber. That's like chia seeds, flax seeds, psyllium husks, because it's gentler. insoluble fiber is also really good for you, and a lot of vegetables have that, but it is insoluble, and if things are not moving at all, it can really make you uncomfortable. So I've had people say, I tried all the vegetables, it was a disaster, you know, and it's not that vegetables are bad for you, it's your reaction to them. So starting with the soluble is the safer, gentler way to go, but you have to pair that with hydration. So half your body weight in ounces of water. Keep it simple. If you weighed 100 pounds, then that's 50 ounces of water. And definitely it's summer right now when I'm filming this, but generally speaking, with electrolytes is the best way to do that. The formulation of electrolytes, how much sodium, how much potassium, we do that very dependent on blood testing and personal results through blood testing, and that's how we figure out which formulation is the best. But start kind of mid-range if you don't have the ability to do that, and you know, don't do one that's super high in this or super high in that. Kind of go mid-range and then see how you do. Let's see what else I want to talk to you about. Movement. The body has to move, so we need to exercise, we need to walk, especially after eating. You can take anywhere from a 10 to 30 minute stroll. This is not, you know, this is not a full out run. That's not good on a full stomach, but just strolling, moving is great to keep that motion going, and that helps with constipation. You definitely want to address the dysbiosis, or the bad bacteria that have occurred due to what I was mentioning earlier, the slower motility, the fermentation. So being able to, in a perfect world, get testing and see, you know, what bad guys are there, and if there are insufficient good guys, and getting on a nutritional program to support that is very key. Otherwise, you have too much imbalance of bad bacteria, and that's just fostering the constipation as well. The vagus nerve we talked about there. If that's a component for you, there's some easy things to do, like gargling and humming and cold plunging. Even putting your hands and or your face in very cold water actually helps kind of tone the vagus nerve. If you have access to a cold plunge, or you know, you're brave and you take that bathtub and you add a bunch of ice to it. There's a lot of ways to get cold exposure, but some easy, you know, starting with hands, starting with face, can really make a difference as well. Small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So due to leaky gut, due to the fermentation and the slowness of motility in the gut, can lead to bacterial overgrowth in your small intestine, and that can really aggravate, and not just the bloat and gas, but the constipation as well. So there's testing for that. I think it's very important to not just kind of put on blinders and say, oh, you have SIBO, here's the drug. Because what I hear a lot from people is that, yeah, I got on the drug and it was great for a while. For a while is the key point. It didn't last because they didn't then follow up with why. Why are those bacteria coming from the colon up into the small intestine? You can kill them up there, but if you're not addressing why they're migrating, then the problem's gonna keep coming back. So that's why we're called Root Cause. We do the deep dive and really figure out why, so that even if we have to treat it because it's so acute, then the likelihood of it coming back is really, really reduced because of the comprehensive nature of our program and addressing all these factors that I'm talking to you about. Last but not least is to look at your thyroid function. Low thyroid function definitely affects the smooth muscle motility or tone, and so this can affect the various sphincters I've been talking about, and including the anal sphincter, and can definitely lead to constipation. So a bit of a list, but you're not going to have all of these things. You're likely going to have some, and it's just a matter of figuring out what's true for you and addressing that. But very, very important to get to the root cause of constipation for so many different reasons. We've gone over a lot of them, and we're happy to help you if you need that. If you enjoyed this video, definitely consider subscribing to the channel. I'm trying to increase the subscribers so more people can get exposed to this information. That's how the algorithm works. So consider subscribing, give it a thumbs up, share it with somebody you know who maybe suffers from constipation, and we'll talk soon.